WeebaLu here. Today I'd like to talk about a game by the name of Yandere Simulator. It's a game that's been in development by its developer, Yandere Dev, for about 4 or 5 years now, and I'm here to tell you why I personally believe that this game will either never be made or will be a buggy and glitchy mess by the end of it. Don't get me wrong, I really like the concepts for this game and all, but this game has more cons than it does pros. It's no secret that Yandere Simulator has had a long and frustrating development. To many game designers, this isn't even a game yet, as there's no objective or end goal of this game yet, as he hasn't implemented them yet. The only way to make this an official game is to put the first rival, making Yandere Simulator an official game and demo at the same time. The rival is Osana Najimi, a tsundere who...
Don't get the wrong idea! It's not like I like you or anything, dummy. Okay, I'm here. So now what? This is your idea of a date? Whatever.
Audrey, is that you? I'm getting honey pop flashbacks here, and it's not the fun ones. Osana has been promised for 3 years now, and we have had 0 progress on her. According to what Yandere Dev has said, it sounds as though she's close, but not close enough to say almost done. I want to say roughly 60 to 70% complete at this point in time, but this has been way too long that I don't know if the numbers have gone up a little bit. He wants to put organic designs with Osana, which is fine, but surely organic gameplay can't be that hard to code into a game, especially when you have all these organic methods already implemented into your game. If it is difficult, then a developer should question whether or not the idea is too ambitious and evaluate if this idea is worth the long time it'll take due to only one programmer working on it. Yes, I say one despite him saying that he had a partnership with TinyBuild. I'll explain this later. Anyone knows that when something is stuck in development, this means it's just doomed to fail. Not everything stuck in development is going to be awful, mind you, but it is a very high probability that it'll fail. Look at all the games and movies that took forever to be made that ended up being complete failures. Yandere Dev has definitely spoiled way too much about the plot, and honestly, the plot is extremely predictable. I'm gonna say it right now, and I guess spoiler warnings if I'm right, but I'm pretty sure that Ayano and Megami are sisters. I say this because it is an anime trope for the black-haired girl to be sisters with the girl who's in white. You know, somewhere in their design who's the student council president, because we all can tell that Yandere Dev loves his anime tropes. Another issue is that Senpai just isn't a character that's well developed. I understand that maybe he is a little plain, so the player can imagine their own crush or something and project that onto the character of Senpai, but usually that's a bad idea because people who aren't into romances or something like that won't understand why Senpai is so loved by everyone in the school. It's almost Gary Stu levels, to be honest, as Senpai is just the guy that every woman in the school loves for no reason other than he's nice. It's almost like he's Kirito from Sword Art Online. Wait a minute. Oh gosh, darn it! The biggest issue for me involves 2 rivals for the game. That would be the teacher and the nurse. Basically, 2 grown adults trying to pursue a teenager still in high school. This is pretty much illegal in every way possible, and honestly really gross. I know that Yandere Dev says all his characters are 18, which makes no sense, as that means the entire school is composed of seniors, but I do remember in early builds of the game, he would show that the characters were either 16 or 17, or he kept it a mystery so he could avoid legal issues with having minors in a game getting sold to the black market or chopped to pieces. Let's keep in mind that this is completely gross for a teacher to fall in love with a student like this. You know, Yandere Dev loves to add realism to his game, right? This game it sure isn't realistic because both the teacher and the nurse would be locked up for this. And the grossest one, incest. Senpai's little sister will be a rival, though she'll likely be 18 as well, which will make her Senpai's twin sister, which adds to the over 9,000 levels of disgusting here. Watch as I say this, Yandere Dev will try and explain that incest is common in Japan, which I suppose you could say, even though it's cousins, and obviously it's not as often anymore, or that she's actually adopted, but he'll likely not change this, considering she already looks like a female version of Senpai. Pretty sure cousins or adopted siblings don't look identical. Also, if you read his smut fan fictions, you'll discover exactly how poor his writing could be. Granted, these are old, but a few of these were made the same time he was initially developing Yandere Simulator. Exactly last year, Yandere Dev announced that he had some major issues developing the game because it's just him working on everything, and it's been a pain to do so. A couple weeks later, he announced a partnership with the company TinyBuild, who made No Time to Explain and Hello Neighbor, and a programmer was brought on to work with him and clean the code out, as many have reported that the code for Yandere Simulator is honestly a mess. A couple of months ago, Yandere Dev admitted that he was not on good terms with the programmer TinyBuild sent, and often insulted him or her for changing the code to a formula he doesn't understand. That's fine, but since Yandere Dev isn't obviously a professional programmer, maybe he should have asked the programmer to teach him the new formats for the code or something. He also stated that basically the programmer wasn't very friendly and just wanted to get the job done. You know, that's their job, right? They're remaining professional just because they want to get the ball rolling, as Yandere Simulator is clearly way behind schedule. Considering his attitude lately towards this programmer, and a representative of TinyBuild admitting that the plots for the Yakuza are against the guidelines they created, as it is hinted that the girls will be sold into, a certain kind of slavery, which I am sure caused major issues between Yandere Dev and TinyBuild. With the confusion and semi-failure of Hello Neighbor's official release, it is likely that TinyBuild is reworking the games they pick up so they won't have to deal with a disaster like that again. Considering the Yandere Simulator is a borderline disaster at this point, it's more than obvious that they would have dropped him. Me, along with others who dislike Yandere Dev's decisions, have guessed that around November of last year was when he was officially dropped. This leads to him working alone on the game again, as there is also reports of many volunteers dropping out of making assets for the game due to Yandere Dev's extreme pickiness and refusing to stick to one exact thing. I would like to remind you all that Osana is not even finished yet. There are 10 rivals with possible DLC for more rivals, and he has announced that the game would come out next year. You ask yourself if a game with this much content can fully be developed and playable in a year. Despite the name of Yandere Simulator, Ayano is not a yandere. A yandere is someone who is really sweet on the outside, but the minute they get close to you, they're murderous and psychotic. Yuno Kasai, despite the mass mixed reception towards her, is a great example of this. We often see a bright smile on her face, but kills literally everyone to be with the one she loves. Ayano is none of this. She does have an obsession with senpai, but she is primarily shown to be emotionless and only gains the feeling of love. If anything, this makes her a kudere, who is emotionless and only gains some semblance of emotion when they finally meet someone special. Actually, Ayana's mother actually fits the description of a true yandere because she's really sweet and happy to everyone, but is likely very violent and psychotic when discussing her husband, which seems to be the case according to her profile on the website for the game. There are Yandere Simulator critique and anti-blogs, of course, those who basically see the flaws that I have along with others and confess things to this blog and showcase proof that he is a bad person. I actually strongly recommend checking out these blogs as they aren't hateful, they just rely the messages and facts and information about a game that will cost you money in the future. Think of it as a sort of look before you support blog. One of these blogs was critiquing the idea of the Yakuza and how he was detouring from the main game's focus, and way too dark for a game about an anime trope. Yandere Dev said on Reddit that this person was attacking and harassing him, but the only proof he could give was the post critiquing the Yakuza. His younger fans, and intensely loyal ones, began attacking this girl who was only 16 or 17, to the point where she had to leave Tumblr. When asked to maybe tell his fans that attacking this girl and bullying is not cool, Yandere Dev simply gave a robotic response by saying she was attacking his image, thus deserved it. This means he actively promotes the bullying of minors just because they say something like, hey, this might not be a good idea for the game right now, maybe wait on it till later in the game. And if you don't think that Yandere Dev can be like this, wait until he finds this video and rants for 15 paragraphs about how I'm damaging his image because of the game, just because I'm relying true facts about this game. I have have no hope in this game releasing, and when it is, I have no hope that it'll be exciting. It's a major disappointment for me as this game has so much potential that it's insane. To make a game based off an anime personality trope that truly shows the downsides of tropes like this is really good, and he's got a lot going for this game. However, it's clearly obvious the Yandere dev's too unprofessional and prideful to really think about whether or not this game has flaws in the first place, story or gameplay wise, to the point where it's impossible for things to change, not to mention his poor behavior and inability to control his fan base. My hope for Yandere Simulator would be that Yandere dev put down his pride and potential greed and realize that making a game isn't about building hype for the next 4 years, only to make a game that's seen as half-baked. One last thing to mention, the last actual game he made prior to Yandere Simulator was critically panned and did poorly financially. And if that's any indication for how Yandere Simulator will turn out, then oh boy. Thanks for watching, everyone! I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least found the video interesting to think about. Tell me below if you think Yandere Simulator will be a success after all this, and see you next time!